Hello and welcome to round 3 of the Automobilista Australia Touring, or not Touring Car Championship, a Rookie Cup. We hope you've had, or those that are watching, or obviously watch later, we do hope you've had a enjoyable and relaxing festive period covering Christmas and New Year's. This is our first official race back. We did have a little mini GT3 race last night, but this is the first official race of the new year. We've just ticked over to qualifying with Stoive topping the timesheets with Wayne Whitmore, and tonight we've been joined by Scruff slash L Chief slash Matt Williams.
I can barely keep up with who I am anymore.
Indeed.
That's all I've got. Hello, everybody. Hi, Dr. Nick. No. Kicked off where we left off here.
Yep. Fantastic commentary. Obviously, for those playing at home or watching at home, one-shot qualifying is about to get underway. And we've got a couple of guys waiting for the lights to go green. Should have another 10-15 seconds, I think. We got Wayne Whitmore. Sorry, Whitmore.
That's the way.
And
it's Wayne Whitmore.
Wayne Whitmore and Ben Purse leaving the pits. Ben Purse lighting them up. And I believe this is the largest field we've had in the Rookie Cup so far, which is good to see as we see Brownie dispatch that cone into the middle of the straight there.
And it's interesting to note that this is the first time we've intentionally scheduled a race at this circuit. Well, we didn't schedule a race last time at this circuit, but we had no other choice. But we're here on purpose this time.
Yeah, this time it is on purpose, unlike the previous round in the Porsche Cup, or Porsche Series, which is the final round does conclude this Thursday night at Bathurst, so we hope to see...
Monza,
yes. It does say on the Facebook page that it is Bathurst, but there it is at the final round at Monza, so that'll be an interesting one, and you're suiting up for that one, I hear.
I've demanded that everyone that I will not be commentating that night. This Monster's wicked cool. That's
Yes.
all I got, really.
Yep, so we'll follow Wayne Whitmore around, and he'll be the first one to set a time lap, and one of the faster runners. He set the second fastest time that has been set so far, in 1 minute 27.995. So, what can he do when it counts most here?
Well, hopefully he'd go faster. The trap is one shot, isn't it?
It is one shot, so... Oh, and he's run wide at turn 1 on the AstroTurf. And almost lost the back end of it. And that's going to compromise his lap. But if he still holds it together, he still probably will manage second on the grid. Because there's a large gap between Wayne and Turmo. Turmo being the 4th fastest time, but the 3rd fastest of those that are racing on a 29.0. Yeah, 28.3 first sector. Not horrible, but certainly not as good as what Whitmore would be hoping for.
And Brendan Ross's fan, never fear, he is still alive. We do believe he was attacked by a man running around shooting fireworks at people on New Year's, but he will be back one day. And, of course, any breaking news regarding members of this group being assaulted are purely speculation, no matter how convincing I manage to not sound.
That is fake news, and it is completely true. He's just putting up a front. So Whitmore about to cross the start-finish line, and still manages a 27.7. So despite sliding into turn 1 there, he's put together the fastest time we have seen so far. So that final and middle sectors, very, very impressive. And Jack, 25.70 on debut. He goes in P2. Ben Purse, he set a 32.6, but Jack setting a 28.4, which is the third fastest time overall by those that are here. So not bad start for him. He should start towards the pointy end of the field. And we'll just wait as we see Cracker about to set his lap.
Brownie won't be too happy after that qualifying. Didn't see what happened to him. You probably didn't. I wasn't listening, but fair way off the pace there, so you can only assume he's had a fairly healthy spin.
Yeah, I'm looking at his sector times, and in the middle is a good 5 seconds off the next slowest car. So he's definitely had a spin there.
Possibly getting on the power out of the hairpin.
Or possibly losing it under braking. These cars are very twitchy under brakes.
Basically, from the start to the end of the second sector, we know for a fact that it's somewhere. He's come a cropper.
Yes, certainly has. We've got no one on a time lap at the moment, but we do have Turmo out there. He'll be the next closest one to setting a time lap. He's currently midway through the lap, coming up to the hairpin. And these cars around this track, they suit them quite well. It's one of the reasons, this track's one of the reasons why actually this mod was selected. These cars were selected because it's just aside from obviously the two double right-handers, it's quite flowy, and you can slide them around a bit, but the corners, you can carry enough speed through a lot of them that it makes it quite enjoyable. As we see, Turmo is slid it there at the spoon, the second part of it, and that will probably compromise the start of his lap, at least by a tenth or two, I'd say.
It could be a lot worse for him there, but definitely not ideal to lose it there. The run out of the spoon, well, through the entirety of the spoon corner is immensely valuable, especially on such a significantly shortened layout.
Certainly is, and obviously that leads on to the longest straight on the circuit. A nice run through 130R there, but he's
he's gone around.
It's a half spin.
Gone around-ish.
He's
got traffic behind him now too. I'm not sure who that is. Maybe Sando?
Yes, that is Lee Sanford in the number 4 machine.
Both these two on flying laps here, so it'd be interesting to see if Sando does catch up to the back of Turmo, whether or not, what the two of them do. Obviously, Turmo not obliged to get out of the way. It's one shot qualifying. We also have Steve Bolger just starting a flying lap now, so normally we expect to see him up the top during qualifying, so it'll be interesting to see what he can do after the additional weight we've all gained over Christmas.
Yeah, so now that is a big problem that pretty much everyone at Automobilista Australia is going to have, and he has set a purple first sector, 27.9, so that's 0.4 of a second up on Wayne Whitmore. And Glenn Miles has had an incident as he cut back there. Hopefully that's yes, that was Steve. So Glenn Miles, unfortunately, on his out lap, has lost it in front of Steve, who was on a hot lap. And that's unfortunately going to force Steve to start at the back after setting a purple first sector. So that'll be frustrating for him. And Glenn Miles,
he's got a big issue there.
Yeah, he's got a puncture and suspension damage, and he's trying to keep going, but it's probably best for him to park it. Lee Sanford, he's pressed escape as well. Has he set a lap?
Yeah, he's in third place. That's a very good effort from Sando there.
28.8, and Turmo, he did a 33.8 on his lap, so he lost about another second after that spin. Yeah, he lost 1 second in the middle sector alone, so a bit of time for Turmo to find.
The one thing going for these guys who have run into issues is it's still only a 10-car field, so they do have 2 or 3 12-lap races, and qualifying down the field is that much time to actually sort yourself out. It shouldn't be too much of an issue, though we have seen these cars can be a bit difficult to to effect overtakes him before, but a couple spots on this track where it shouldn't be too difficult with much of a pace difference.
Yeah, if you have a bit of a pace difference, I think the hairpin's probably the best opportunity, and then the next one will be right here, where Gary Neville is approaching, turn 2. Essentially where the track cuts in half.
Yeah, and if you get a good run through Spoon as well, you can probably out-drag them on the way up to 130R if you've got a massive set of testicles between your legs.
You'd certainly need it, or you'd need a very good run. As we see Gary Neville 2/10 down in the first split. Still, solid start to his lap so far. And nice and tight, well, tidy for the most part through the hairpin, so...
Good run there, maybe not quite utilising the exit, but definitely getting through there well.
It's been a tidy lap so far. Hasn't put a foot wrong. May not be the fastest lap, but if it's a clean one together, he could find himself towards the point end of the field.
It's the thing with the one-shot qualifying, you're better off playing it smart, because some people are going to pretty much always wind up having issues and being a few seconds off the pace. So if you play it smart and sacrifice a little bit of time, you can generally find yourself a fair way out the field, as Gary puts himself into 4th place there.
Yeah, a little conservative through Spoon, but still he put a clean lap together, and that's put him in the top half of the field. And I believe that is everybody done. Yes, that's everybody.
That is done, so.
The timer on the oven has gone off. It's time to pull it out because this qualifying session is done. And we've got Wayne Whitmore on pole position once again. And we've got newcomer Jack to 570 in P2. Lee Sanford P3. Gary Neville right at the end there P4. Cracker P5. Ben Purse P6. Termo P7. Brownie, the last driver to set a lap, but he had a spin in the middle sector. He's at a 38 and he's P8. Steve Bolger, he had the purple first sector before, unfortunately coming unstuck with Glenn Miles driving around slowly on the formation lap, or on his out lap I should say, and unfortunately the damage and the spin obviously costing Steve badly there, so he'll start P9, and Glenn Miles with also a bit of damage will be forced to start from the back. Alright, well, we'll take a short break as we just conduct a driver's briefing, but we shall be back. Alright, welcome back. Welcome back. So, we're just in the warm-up session. And we'll just talk about the championship standings for a moment. I don't have the graphic for OBS, unfortunately, but we'll just talk about it shortly. Obviously, Live Races does have some couple issues, and we've had drivers originally place themselves in the wrong class because they weren't sure where to be. So it sort of mixed it up a little bit. But obviously, it's no surprises to see Wayne Whitmore leading the championship on 150 points. And then we've got Brendan Ross, who's had a very up and down season, has still finds himself in second on 130. And then we've got Stoy.
Well, if you'd been shot with a firework,
yeah, it's no excuse if you've been shot by a firework or not. You should have driven better.
So you're a cheat.
No.
Carry on, I'll stop being disruptive.
And then we've got Stoive on 122. He had a rough round last time out. And then we have Turmo in P4. They're all Pro B runners. So it's no surprise, I guess, that they're all in the top 4, with Turmo on 110 points in 4th place. And we've got Coops on 106. He's not here tonight, which is a bit of a shame because he's leading the rookie championship. But he's got a significant gap over Glenn Miles on 76. But I believe... And then there's Gary Neville on 60. I think Gary's had a DNF or two here and there, so that's why he's so far back in that one. Luke Joyner on 48. Brian Walsh on 40. We've got neither of those guys here tonight. And then we've got Lee... Well, somehow given points to Lee Sanford and Scott Murrell for God knows whatever reason, but there we are.
I believe they both have raced.
Ah, yes, they have. Yes, just
Yeah,
checking.
Sando's done his sign up today, so it must have retrospectively.
Yes, it did. At
he had done that.
Yeah, so it put his points. If we go to Live Races, amsoz.liveraces.com, and you go to League and Championships, and then obviously click on the Rookie Cup one. Yeah, if you go to the rookie class, it does have Sanford on 36 points, but he's crossed out, and then you go to Pro B and his name's there and it's got a tick next to it. So he's got points, obviously, for racing, but they're for Pro, or they're for rookie, but he's not going to get any more points for rookie. All his remaining points are going to go to Pro B, and the same thing's happened with Whitmore, where he's got 150 points, but they're all in rookie, and this is his first round with the correct point standing. So that's if you click on the individual tabs, but if you obviously go to the main drivers point standings, that's got it correct there. So we can sort of do it from that perspective, I guess, if that makes sense. But in any case, Whitmore, obviously he's got a stranglehold on the championship. No Brendan Ross tonight, so that points gap to second will increase. Well, barring a retirement, of course, or barring, I guess, Steve Bolger, if he just races through the field, he could take points off him. But
Rossi not being here can only help his championship fight. But I can just see him in the live chat complaining about being picked on, so I thought I'd say something nice.
Well, it shouldn't.
It's going to be your best performance, Rossi, guaranteed.
Well, it will certainly be his most consistent performance of the Rookie Cup season, that is for sure.
Poor little bugger.
That's why you should be here every week. That way you won't get picked on as much. But he's not here, so we're just going to rip in.
Come on, give me some credit.
Alright, so that's the warm-up session timer has ticked down, with Whitmore being fastest on a 28.4. Gary Neville 29.6, and we've just ticked over. And we're about to get underway. Obviously this race here, they do formation lap as well as a standing start, which we've seen obviously drivers struggle with a little bit, and there is a little bit of a slope for these guys to deal with. They will roll backwards a little bit. The further back you are, the more you will roll. So that's something to watch out for.
I'd recommend my wheel for that situation, but given the logo on it, I've decided not to. Clutch paddles, though, my god, they're good.
Yes, I wouldn't mind if clutch pedals on my wheel, but unfortunately I haven't got the money to get them. But
Just build one out of plywood.
why not?
I can think of a few reasons.
Well, we're all formed up, and away there you go for the formation lap. And due to service settings, we've got two number 4 cars. So we've got Whitmore and Lee Sanford in the number 4 car.
Yeah, mini series. I told you I'd never remember to change that back.
Well, we've got Wayne Whitmore leading us away from pole position once again. And then joining him on the front row is Jack 2570. And Lee Sanford will start in P3. Fourth on the grid, Gary Neville. And P5, we have Cracker.
I think that pauses to indicate that I should carry on from here. So in P6 we have Ben Purse, I believe his first race in this series. P7 we have Termo in the Virtual Experience number 15 car. 8th is Brownie after a difficult qualifying session for him with a spin in the middle sector. 9th is Glenn Miles. He not getting a lap in qualifying after taking damage. I believe it was a puncture he had. And in 10th and last place is Steve Bolger, who I didn't see at the time, but I'm led to believe was caught up with Glenn Miles. And my God, we've got through that quickly. We're going to need about 10 minutes of filler.
Yeah, so if you could just go through a story, that'd be great.
Well, you see, in the 80s, when everyone was doing cocaine and being ridiculous, I was but a wee 50-year-old lad travelling through Europe, and in the 80s it was Eastern Europe, when I stumbled across a truffle farm. That's right, a truffle farm. And it was set upon by a pack of wild dogs. One of these dogs' name was Edgar. And I thought that was odd given I was in Eastern Europe and it doesn't seem like a very native name for such a geographical place. What? Anywho, oh look, they're coming up to the grid. Let's just start hyping up the race. We'll get back to that story later.
I reckon we should continue with that story, but anyway, they are forming up onto the grid. And I wonder how many cars are going to start rolling towards the back of the grid there. I reckon there'll be a couple, that's for sure.
How about I put my camera on number 5 so we can see the rest of the grid?
So we'll just go to the car at the back of the field, right on board, just so we can see lights. There's 1, 2, 3 lights, 4 lights, 5. And we are away. And it looks like Jack's got a good start, as has Lee Sanford. And Wayne Whitmore has jumped, well, he's fallen back to 3rd. And it looks like Jack, well, he's fallen prey to Lee Sanford, but he has the inside line through 130R. Sanford trying to go around the outside, as was, I think, Gary Neville was having a look at Whitmore as well.
Sando getting into... Oh, no, alright, forget that. Commentators cursed before I even actually said it.
Well, the field has remained fairly compact, and after all that, Whitmore back into the lead. And 2570 is in P2. Neville now up to P3, so he's had a solid start. Sanford down to P4, Cracker P5, Termo P6, Glenn Miles was P7. Now it is Ben Purse and Brownie P9, and Steve hasn't had a great start.
Maybe a little bit cautious there from Steve. Only one car rolling back on the start, just a little bit. That was Cracker. Nothing really noteworthy there. And he did get away to a good start and has maintained 5th position.
Yeah, so there is the field. The did remain.
Whitmore and Jack Lewis Whitmore and Jack are getting off to a fairly good early lead here on just the first lap.
Yeah, they are breaking away from the rest of the field. Whitmore 8/10 gap at the last sector split, but what will it be over the start-finish line? Probably be around about the same. Maybe it's grown a little bit. Yeah, 1 second.
1.0.
And then Jack's got 1.6 to Gary Neville behind, and he's got Lee Sanford behind him. But right behind Sanford, Cracker. He's looking quite racy. Oh, as you see, that's Brownie losing it at 130R, and that spun him around.
Looks like Miles also had an issue. He's 13 seconds off the lead after the first lap.
We'll just try and see what has happened here. Looks like he's had an incident at Spoon. Looks like he's just broke himself.
We've got Wayne Whitmore up to 1.3 seconds now too. He's been very good in these cars. He's been able to get away, and when he hasn't had a fallen victim to an incident, he's been pretty much doing the exact same thing every time we've seen him in these cars, which is just keep putting in the laps and stretch that gap out by a tenth or two here and there, and just keep going on rails pretty much from what we've seen.
Yeah, he reminds me a little bit of sort of Sebastian Vettel in that once he gets out in front, it's very difficult to beat him.
He crashes into a wall in his home race, and everything goes topsy from there.
Actually, with that's a poor comparison. That's probably Brendan Ross is probably more like Sebastian Vettel. Is that you put him out in front, he's fine, but if he's racing anything else, he's he's done. He's cooked. He's going to put it in the fence. So at least in these cars, anyway. But fastest lap there for Whitmore, 28.1, and that's a second faster.
2 second lead now. Almost exactly a second. Probably about 0.099 of a second.
And
well, point. Oh, yeah, I'll give up. I'm going to bed.
But I was going to say, Jack doing a very good job in his first race. He had 1.9 over Gary Neville behind him. He made a slight mistake through the entry to turn 3 there and clipped the grass, and that cost him a little bit of time.
Another 1.1 seconds to Whitmore there. So Whitmore now just needs to. Rossi, you're a wanker. Whitmore now just needs to pretty much just bring the car home. I think he's got the pace, if need be, to pull away. If anybody does catch back up to him, he just needs to play it safe from here. And Cracker's just lost a couple of spots I've seen. Was running 5th now.
Oh,
there's a bit going on back there.
We've got Cracker and Stuyve side by side, but we'll just. Once this overtake has concluded, if it ever does, is a Cracker trying to hold it around
on for a while.
Trying to hold it on around the outside of 130R, but he's not going to make that stick there.
Oh, he's coming back. Oh, there's contact between them there. Looks like Cracker has come off worse of the two of them.
Another fastest lap at 27.3. That's a very quick lap time from Whitmore. Fastest lap for the race. Let's just try and see if anything happened to Cracker.
Shit, which tin's the one I'm talking? That one.
Oh, yes. So at the second Degner, he outbroke himself a little bit.
Ooh, that's crisp.
And ran wide. And almost put it into the fence.
Still right on the back of Steve. He's run a little bit wide. They're actually going to turn 2, so that might put paid to any challenge he did have for Steve, who we expect does have a little bit more pace than he's managed to extract so far. And
got a big battle between Lee Sanford and Gary Neville now for the last podium spot. Sanford almost drilled the back of Gary Neville, the second Degner there. And that's given Gary Neville a bit of breathing room, but these two are the closest battle on track at the moment. Looks like Sanford is the quicker of the two. And
Gary is a smart racer though. You'll be fairly well aware of what the pace difference between the two is. You know, if it's within a couple
but he's
of
lost it.
Oh.
And
Sanford.
Sanford. Well, I guess it was sort of a half spin there from Neville, but he managed to recover it, and it sort of off-put Sanford, and Sanford did the full spin as Whitmore. That's the fastest lap at 27.2. And so Sanford down to P7. That moves Cracker and Bolger as well as Turmo up. And Gary Neville holds on for now, but Turmo is closing in on him a little bit.
Yeah, Turmo being within a second, that'll give him a carrot on the end of a stick there to try and catch up a bit more. And then with Bolger right behind them, it could turn into a good 3-car battle for the final podium position.
Well, Bolger was the second fastest car on track the last time out. He set a 28.6, so that's 1.4 seconds slower than our race leader, and it was 2/10 faster than Jack in P2. And he was a second faster than Turmo on that last lap, so you should expect to see him quite close to Turmo in the next lap or two. So see Gary Neville looks like he ran a little bit wide of the hairpin, but that seems to be his line. He did do that in qualifying.
Apologise for my short absence. One of my shoes had come under attack from a wild dog.
Excuses.
Excuses, you're a cheat.
Whatever, champ.
For anybody wondering, this is basically just one of our voice chats, but a race is going on.
Pretty much. It's looks like Turmo.
We speak slightly clearer, but that's about it. This battle for third place definitely is going to be an interesting one to keep an eye on. There's 1.7 seconds between Neville and Bolger, 2 places behind, so not much in it at all there. Hopefully see them play it nice and smart, though Bolger does seem to be right on the back of the Turmo now.
Yeah,
they may look for a way through. That would be probably the smartest thing for Turmo. Would be to maybe get behind Bolger as Turmo gets a big slide on there.
Neville locks up in front of him. Neville on the AstroTurf. You don't want to be on the AstroTurf. There's green cement and then there's AstroTurf. You get on the AstroTurf, it's very slippery and it's cost him time. But Bolger was very close, but he also made a slight mistake. And Turmo's now close to Gary Neville. So it's all yo-yoing between them all. But in the end, though, it's closed the gap up between the three considerably. And now there's about a couple tenths between Turmo and Neville, and there's about half a second or so between Turmo and Stoiv.
Yeah, definitely going to be a good one to watch if they can all keep it on the road. That's one thing we have seen in these cars. Once it's looked like we're going to have a good multi-car fight, one or two of them loop around and we wind up disappointed and talking shit.
Yep. Well, at front, another fastest lap for Wayne Whitmore, a 27.0. It's a very, very quick lap time.
Yeah, near enough to a 10-second lead over Jack now, so pretty safe for Whitmore as long as he can bring it home.
So you see, Stoiv having a little bit of a look there into turn 2, but too far back to make any use of it.
Bit of a lock up there from Gary just in front of those two. Nothing to write home about.
All of them missing the apex at turn 3 there. You can use a little bit of curb in the limited running I did. You take a little bit of curb on that and it sets you up beautifully for the Degners. But, there's a spin.
Very close between them now.
I've had, thought I heard a spin somewhere.
I can't hear anything from the tracks, so that one's your call.
It was Brownie. He had a spin at the hairpin, sort of blocked. Ooh, he blocked Glenn Miles and, or semi-blocked anyway, Glenn Miles and the leader, so it caused a little bit of a mess, but thankfully he hasn't taken anybody out. But yeah, that's quite a big gap there between obviously first and second. Jack sort of had a very quiet run because he's a good 6 seconds in front of Gary Neville and he's 9 seconds behind Whitmore. But the battle for third is heating up.
Jack will have a bit of an excuse to be aggrieved with us at the end of it. His first race is in second place, doing a fantastic job, and we couldn't care less about paying attention to him because he's not where the action.
Well, that's something that a lot of the touring car drivers need to learn. As all we see, who is that?
There's a lot that they need to learn.
As Turmo made a mistake into turn 1 there. We'll just have a look.
I think I got one cheeky dig in there that I'll get away with.
Yeah, lost the back end on the curbing, and that looks like, yes it has, it has allowed Stoiv through for P4. Now Stoiv is going to have a crack at the podium. And
Oh, Gary's gone off. Gary's gone
he's
off.
in the
He's into the
wall.
wall.
That will be suspension damage, and unfortunately, that's his podium chances done. And it looks like Cracker's had a bit of an adventure as well, because his tyres are a bit dirty, so he's gone off as well, but not severely.
He's going on board with Gary. It doesn't look like he's left or right hand down, so may have actually hit that just head on enough to prevent any real steering or suspension damage. So it doesn't look like he'll be able to get back up into podium positions, but should be able to make it home from here just from what I can see on my screen.
He's got, as he locks up there, the second part of Spoon, he's got Cracker giving him a bit of a race there for P5, and Turmo now after that, after I think Steve got balked a little bit, and now he's got Turmo right behind him, and they're coming up to Brownie, and I think Glenn Miles ahead for lap traffic. Hopefully they don't get in the way.
That little bit of a lock-up from Gary's always, if that was damage
Oh,
related
we've got
anyway.
a spinner. That's his Glenn Miles. He clipped the grass on the entry.
Oh, Gary's gone straight into it.
Oh, it's a shame.
That's, yeah, definitely not the result that Gary deserves after the performance he did put in the first 3 quarters of the race there.
Oh, as you see, Jack's had an off, and he's down the field. So, what has happened here? So, he's ran wide at Degner 1.
Could find himself bogged here too. These cars are notoriously difficult to get back out of the gravel.
He stalled it, so he went off at Degner 1 and obviously got beached, and now he's stuck in the gravel. He can't get it out. It's beached, so running.
The car is moving.
He might
slow that shot, but he's going to drop well back in the field, and
oh no, I think
probably wish that we had missed that.
He's stalled it, and he stalled it again. No, he's not going to get out of it. That's a lot of dirt and gravel to get out of. If he does get out of there, it's a fair effort, but I don't think he's going to. And that's allowed Steve up to P2, Turmo now up to P3. So what a shame for Jack, running so well and so consistent as well throughout the race. And one little mistake, and that's dropped him well down the field. That's if he even finishes, that is.
I'm watching him try and get out of the gravel, and I can see his throttle inputs as he goes back to the pits there. Retiring from the race there is Jack after a great performance on debut in Automobilista Australia. I don't think he'll be disappointed, but I think he can hold his head very high after that. He's done a great job for most of that race, but he would have just been wishing that he had a pit limiter so he could flick that on it and just get the foot down and get the revs up and that sort of mid-range without risking the engine and try and get out of the gravel with that.
Certainly. We've had Gary Neville's had another spin. He ran a little bit too wide at turn 3, and he's dropped his tyre over just a little bit onto the grass, and that's dropped him down to 7th. So he was running so well early on in this race, but it's just fallen apart since half distance. And
yellow flags somewhere around where Gary is as well. Brownie's off at the hairpin. There's a car around at the hairpin. Glenn Miles is in the wall. Everything's going on here. Purse is in the wall.
Yeah, there's been Purse, I believe, that come across the incident. So it looks like
back on track now is Purse. Looks like the car.
He's just looped it on his own there. Just got a bit too greedy on the throttle pedal, and round she went.
It's a lot going on.
There's a lot sudden there. There is a lot going on, but back up to P3. There's a battle.
Brownie just manages to keep it on track there too. Thought we were going to have another one.
But yeah, the battle for P3. It's we've got another one going now. We've got Cracker and Turmo fairly close together. 9/10 separating the two at the last split there. So as the race has gone on, Cracker sort of found himself a little bit extra time as he's right up close behind behind Turmo. Almost drilled the back of him there at the second Degner. I've seen that a couple times this evening already, but yeah, he's found a little bit of pace. Oh, those around him have been a little bit inconsistent, because on that last lap, a 28.5 for Cracker, which is a 10th off his fastest lap, and Turmo on that last lap at 29.7, which is 6/10 of his fastest.
And Bolger will be over the moon right now after starting on the back row after not getting a lap in qualifying. He's now in second place. 20 seconds behind Whitmore, but I don't think that's anything to be upset about given where he started. And hopefully we'll get a lap in qualifying for race 2 and we can see a battle for the lead.
Looking at the lap times though, I mean, there's a big gap between them in terms of just fastest laps, like a 28.5
Yeah,
to a
but when you
27.0.
say that though, people have no excuse to keep watching.
Well,
I'm
that's it.
trying to sell a product here and you're just shitting on it.
Well, that's it. Though Steve has improved on the last lap at 28.2, so that was his fastest lap of the race.
There we go. That's sales 101 for you.
Well, he has no. Pardon me. He's yeah. I don't believe he had any pressure on that last lap, but he didn't have any traffic off the top of my head anyway. And there we are. His fastest lap of the race. So hopefully he can continue that form into the obviously next qualifying session and race. And we are on the last lap with Whitmore. He's approaching the spoon curve, but behind them we've got Turmo and Cracker fairly close together. So we will cut ahead to Whitmore.
Whitmore just coming out of spoon now.
Yes, he's coming out of the second part of spoon, and Whitmore will win race 1 of round 3.
Absolutely dominant performance there by Whitmore. Fantastic drive, barely setting a wheel wrong the entire 12-lap race.
Yep. Well, we didn't see him put a wheel wrong because, well, he wasn't near anybody except for the first half a lap, really. And Steve will finish, well, eventually a distant P2 despite finishing at the back, so a great drive from him.
8 positions up.
Turmo will finish P3, but Cracker's had an off somewhere. Let's just, what has happened here? So what's happened to, looks like at the hairpin, Cracker pushing very hard, just carried a bit too much speed and had no brake or throttle input, and that sent him around, so he finishes P4. Lee Sanford, he does have pace in that thing, but obviously a couple of mistakes cost him, and he finishes eventually in P5. Gary Neville, P6, he'll be frustrated after being in such a good position early on, and just a couple of mistakes and a little bit of bad luck, and that makes him finish down in P6. Ben Purse will finish P7 in his first race in the Rookie Cup. He has raced in the touring cars, I believe. And Brownie is just about to cross the start-finish line a lap down, but he'll finish in P8.
Glenn Miles is coming out of spoon now, the last of our runners to cross the line in 9th place.
And
a few spins for Glenn in that one. He'll be looking for a bit of improvement in the next couple races.
Yeah, both he and Brown.
First race back though, you'll use that as an excuse.
Yeah, both he and Brownie did struggle a little bit. Glenn Miles set his first time lap in the race, so see, he did struggle a bit in practice, but he got there, I guess, towards the end. Still needs to find a little bit of time though. But that is race 1 of round 3 at the Kansai West Circuit in Japan. And once again, Whitmore taking the win with Steve Bolger P2, and obviously Turmo P3. Jack will be, well, happy in some ways that he had the pace to be on the podium and certainly deserved P2, but one little mistake, and if you're in the gravel trap in these things, as you said during the race, it is nigh on impossible to get them out, and that cost him.
He'll be frustrated, but at the same time, he's got a lot to be confident about coming into race 2. If he can keep it on the road, I would expect him to be up there in the next race, and most likely in the third one as well. Although for race 3 we do have the reverse championship position, so that could throw a bit of a spanner in the works.
Yeah, that will be something to see. And obviously, with a couple of the new guys there, they'll be moved towards the front of the grid. So that'll give Jack actually a chance with the reverse championship order grid. So that the reverse championship order, that goes from the start of the round. So him scoring points, obviously, in the first 2 races doesn't mean anything. So he'll be obviously one of the first 2 or 3, because I believe this is Ben Purse's first round as well in the series. So they'll be up, obviously, first to third, first, second, or third. So that'll give Jack a chance to sort of redeem himself and possibly grab a race win in the third race.
Yeah, Whitmore could actually be one of the interesting ones in this one. He's not had to do any overtaking so far, and from memory, we have seen him have a few issues in traffic in previous rounds, so it could be interesting starting at the back, seeing how he goes coming through the field.
Certainly, if you haven't, yeah, as you said, we haven't seen too much overtaking. We've seen drivers make mistakes, but as for out and out overtakes, we've not seen too many. So we do hope that does pick up. So we do tick over to the qualifying session. We're waiting around for this one. I do believe Scott Morrill was going, or is going to race this one, but didn't join in time for qualifying, so he'll hopefully join us for the warm-up.
So we have someone struggling to get their car into the pit lane properly.
It is very difficult to get your car out of the very tight pit boxes here, so that is Brownie, I believe.
Yep, Brownie. God help us.
God help us.
So I've been watching The Simpsons on the laptop when I've gone to bed the last few nights. That episode I watched last night.
I'm sure
anyone who's not familiar with how strange we are as people may as well just switch off now, because I doubt we're going to talk much about qualifying.
Yes, it's mainly just going to be God help us.
God help us. Look, it's Lisa in the sky. No diamonds though. We'll get copyright infringement for that.
They can't prove it was from that. We could just be talking gibberish on LSD.
I was just going to say, we're tripping balls if you're wondering.
Alright, so we do have a few cars out on track. They've gone out very early in this qualifying stage. We've got Turmo, got Brownie, the first car out on track, almost binning it into the Petrova sign on the right hand side of the track on the exit of Degner 2 there. We've got Ben Purse, he's not too far behind Brownie. And we've got Wayne Whitmore, who looks like he's slowing down to build up a little bit of a gap to the car in front.
These guys would be much better off waiting till everyone, well, obviously you can't all wait until everyone else does a lap, but with the track grip resetting, you're better off going as late as you can in the session to get as much grip as you possibly can with the track. I think I set it to light.
Well, it does look to be some amount of rubber on the circuit. We can see it on the stream and when we do onboard, so there is some rubber down.
Painted.
Okay.
False hope.
Well, there you go.
Crazy Japanese with their friggin' little schemes.
Right.
That's probably racist.
Alright, well, Brownie just begun the first qualifying lap of the session. Let's see what he can muster up second time out.
Taking a lot of curb there onto turn 2 as Brownie. I haven't done a lap in these cars, so I have no idea what that means.
In turn 2 and 3 you can get away with a little bit of curb, but the next couple turns you've got to be a bit cautious.
He's definitely using as much of it as he thinks he can. He's been all over the curbs so far throughout this lap, coming up to Spoon here. Nudges a little bit, good exit from what I can see.
What the heck? Is that a solid lap so far, Brownie? Obviously Whitmore's done the fastest first second on 27.8. 28.4 is not too bad though, and his middle sectors look quite tidy so far, so Brownie putting together a solid lap here. 33.7 middle sectors, actually that's a pretty good middle sector, so if he can maintain this, he'll give himself a really good shot.
Not using a bit of a slide there through Spoon, and he wasn't using all the track on the way into Spoon either in the braking zone. He was a bit more in the middle rather than off to the right.
Well, he sets a 29.7, which is his fastest lap by a considerable margin. His last fastest lap from the first race was a 31.0, so good 1.3 seconds, not bad from him. Turmo jumps up, he does a 29.6, that's 5 tenths off his fastest lap in the, obviously, race 1.
Close between those two, half a tenth in it.
Whitmore does a 28.0, so he doesn't quite live up to what he did in the first qualifying session, so that opens the door to possibly seeing Stuyve maybe nick
Still is less grip out there though. So what's the about a second off his best lap. So probably not getting quite the ideal lap in. Maybe caught out a bit by the reduced grip, but at the same time, a fair bit of that time is probably just in the surface.
True. We've got Cracker on a lap at the moment. He's 1.3 down in the middle sector, but if he maintains the final sector or gets fairly close to it, he could jump up to P2.
Let's see if he does a cracker of a lap.
God help us.
The only response that deserved, up into 4th place
Oh,
as I run out of breath.
There's only a tenth and a half separating himself and Termo, with Brownie right in the middle. So those three very close together. And do see, well, Jack was on a lap, but
yep, Purse as well. That Purse is in the pits. He's not going to get a lap in, or he will be disqualified. So
well, Jack's going to get himself disqualified if he doesn't press escape, because he must have binned it on his out lap or on his previous lap, and because he hasn't set a time, but it's got 2 out of his 3 laps completed. So
as he goes around again, going into turn 2 there.
So he'll be starting at the back regardless, because he's not going to set a lap time, and if he gets himself disqualified, that'll put him right at the back.
Yeah, not ideal for him. He's now his second qualifying session with us, so maybe just not quite aware of what that means. But only one way to find out, really.
Well, that's it.
No one else got disqualified, so that's how I learned. Other people's misfortune.
Yeah, so for those wondering at home, you get 3 laps, and once you leave the pits, that counts as 1 lap. If you press escape because you binned it or whatever, once you press escape and go back to the pits, that's 2 laps. So you can't actually go back out once you've left the pits.
It's effectively you can leave the pits once. If you don't get a time in, or you crash, or whatever, then that's just bad. That's bad luck.
Yep, that's it. That's unfortunately what happened to Stuyve and Glenn last time out. They caught up in an incident in qualifying, and neither of them were able to set a lap.
And Jack starting his irrelevant flying lap.
I think he's slowed down, and he might have realised what's going on.
It's interesting. He'd probably be better off just staying out. As for some reason he's staying off to the left here. Yeah, he's back in the pits now. He'd be better off staying out, just using as another lap or 2 of practice. Everything does count. All the track time you can get. So interesting decision there. I probably would have taken the DQ and going to start at the back anyway in that situation. So you take the DQ and just get an extra lap of practice.
That said, though, you're aiding your rivals by putting more rubber onto the racetrack. So, and if you do
I've got a comment, but I can't say it.
God help us. And Stuyve has exited the pits, and he'll begin his lap shortly.
Oh, Sando's been off slightly.
I believe he's on an... No, he is on a time lap, but Gary Neville has started his lap. Where is the old Lee Sanford? He's out there on track.
Just comes through the hairpin now, a little bit sideways on the exit, not really going to matter. Yeah, saw a few black lines where he went off, and just as I went to him, he was on the grass, so...
His first sector actually is the fastest of all the times that have been set so far, but yeah, his middle sector 39.4, so that's 6 seconds off the fastest middle sector. So he's had a spin somewhere, and that's going to put him towards the bottom half of the field. That said though, his final sector looked quite neat and tidy, so it'll be interesting to see what his final sector time is, as he sets a 34.6.
These one-shot qualifiers are pretty much the same deal as in a lot of race, or any race really, where if you can finish the lap or you can finish the race, you're better off just getting to the end of it and setting that time or taking whatever points are on offer and really just hoping for a bit of misfortune for your competitors. Every position, especially in these cars, does matter on the grid, so definitely the right choice there for Sando to continue on after that little off.
Gary Neville at the end of his lap caught he caught Glenn Miles, who was on a time lap himself, but was on a very slow one, and I think that might have cost Gary Neville a tenth or two. So he sets a 1 minute 30.0, so that puts him 2 tenths behind Cracker. And from Turmo to Gary Neville, there's only 3 tenths between them, so very close between those guys. As we see Stoiv get his lap underway. And I believe he's the only one that can set a lap. I believe Ben Purse has used all his laps. So Stoiv is the only one now that can prevent Wayne Whitmore from claiming 2 from 2 in qualifying.
I think Steve. Actually, it wasn't Steve's mistake in the first qualifying. He puts a couple wheels off there, I think, onto the AstroTurf, though, so that shouldn't hamper him too badly. Yeah, I was going to say, if it had been his mistake in the first qualifying session, he might go for the banker lap, but here I'd probably expect him just to try and get as far up the grid as he possibly can.
Well, he's 4 tenths off in the first sector, but that is still good enough to be the fastest, or the second fastest first sector that's been set so far. So if he maintains his pace, he's 5 tenths down in the middle sector, so he should, barring a mistake, quite comfortably qualify on the front row.
Remember when he was good at qualifying? You know, before he signed for your team.
I believe he signed for my team before he did any of this. Well, he wasn't exactly signed, he was just makeshift driver and was just chucked in as he sets a 28.6, so it's 6 tenths off. He's only lost about a tenth in that final sector, so half a tenth in fact. So the final sector is quite good. Obviously he made a mistake in the first sector and is a tenth down in the middle sector. So there is hope there that Stoiv could disrupt Wayne Whitmore from going 2 from 2.
And the front row in this race, interesting enough, probably 2 of the guys who've struggled most with race starts from what we've seen from them in the past. So that one could be interesting to see at the front, at least at the start of this race. We've got Sanford, Neville, Cracker, Brownie, and Turmo. We've all seen good pace as well. That'll be interesting to watch. Jack further back in the field and Purse. After not being able to set a lap in as well as Jack, those two will be looking for some improvements on their qualifying positions.
I think Sanford and Jack are going to be the ones to look out for, at least especially in the first half of the race. I believe they're probably a bit down on what, they've qualified a bit obviously further down than what their pace is capable of. So especially Jack. I mean, we saw obviously in the first race.
If Whitmore and Bolger do get off the line badly or get into a bit of a scrap with each other, that does bring Jack into it. I think he'll be able to get through some of the slower drivers ahead of him without too much difficulty. There's a couple good spots to overtake. Another couple of drivers won't be quite as easy, but if he has the pace advantage, you'd expect him to get through comfortably enough.
But yeah, we did see obviously Stoiv last season in the rookies, in the minis. He got like 6 pole positions or something in a row and only managed to convert 1 or 2 of them. So, and even then in those races that he did convert, I think he did in one of those races, he did have to fight his way back after.
Scott Murrell is in the crib, y'all.
Yes. And with that, I'll be taking a short break, so you're going to have to entertain the feed.
Feed? I wish I was having a feed. Well, let's get back to the story about whatever that dog's name was in Eastern Europe. The hell was his name? Irwin. That's right. It was a Labrador Retriever. And I'm just kicking about, and he comes up and says, "G'day, Braz, what's going on?" And obviously I just said, "I'm just kicking about. What's going on with you?" And he bit me. This story's going nowhere. Where's Lewis? I don't know if anyone what he's got. He doesn't have the camera on anything. We've got cars on the track. They're going around. That's pretty exciting, isn't it? No, all right. Apparently, Walsh is frightened of losing championship positions, and Coulston's having withdrawal issues. They got patches for that, mate. It's called brothel. Lewis, come back. Let's Scott, get into TV time if you're watching. That'll be entertaining. You won't understand a word he's saying, but it'll be okay. What is Scott doing, actually? I imagine he's trying to get some laps in. On track at the moment, just cruising about, doing things. Not very Japanese of him to be not coming up and saying hello. It's quite rude. They're very polite people. Like raw fish. Don't like whales or dolphins. Their nuclear facilities are built in poor locations. Just leaching radioactive waste into the environment. And so I desperately try not to say anything more offensive than that. I look to Discord and hope that Lewis will interrupt me and end the madness that is whatever I'm crapping on about, but alas, we've not been that fortunate. Scott is looking pretty racy, actually, out there on this lap. It's his first flying lap yet to set a time. Some good pace, looks confident in the car. Imagine Lewis is now sitting there listening to... He's just sitting there having a dart, scratching his balls, shoving about 4 meat pies down his neck at once. Gary goes fastest with a 1 minute 10, 18 seconds faster than pole position. He really is the greatest driver of all time, other than myself, of course. I don't like commentating by myself. Where's Scott? What's he doing? He's coming up to the line. Isn't that exciting? You can't even see. He does a 31-2. He's like freaking... He's 21 seconds off Gary. He's going back to the pits. He's having a sulk. He's ashamed. And rightly so. Rossi, I'm going to be out of here long before the interviews start. As Scott has crashed, exiting the pit lane. Was hoping I wouldn't see it. I did. He's pretty much just done. He's gone straight into the wall, out of the pit lane. Don't even know how he's done it, but he has, and that's the end of it. I know Lewis is sitting there listening to me now, which is making this much more irritating as he finally shows himself.
I am indeed back, so what have you been rambling on about?
Well, you've been listening to me for the last freaking...
I haven't. 5 minutes.
No, you have. I know you have. I started getting really offensive and that's when you came back.
That's something I'll have to re-watch the stream.
Rewatch? You can't rewatch it if you haven't seen it. You're watching the stream now?
I am not.
Exactly.
But I'll have to rewatch it at another time.
Well, it's not rewatching, it's just... Oh, good God. Sometimes I think there's no hope for you.
Semantics, alright? But I will
Samantha. Don't mention the war, let's talk about the war.
What war?
No, the war. Oh, just gonna look at Facebook real casually. I'm sorry, Walshy, but Your definition of 7 is in fact 11, which is a clever way of avoiding copyright infringement. Who's the favourite to win? Whitmore. You're done good, I think. The Daily, I can't say the last word in your YouTube username. I think if he gets off to... You're in Japan. I think if he gets off to a good start, he's pretty much going to be unstoppable.
Certainly, he certainly was in the first race. Predicting the top 3. Well, I'm pretty sure Whitmore's got P1 on lock. In fact, that is...
Rossi says don't.
That is my lock of the week. Whitmore will win race 2. And Steve will finish a gallant P2.
Yeah, Steve and Jack, I reckon, if they can get clean races in a fairly well certain for second and third place. Outside of those two, Purser's got a decent chance. Gary, we saw performing quite well in the first race. He'd have a good chance. Sanford, if he can get a clean race in. There's a few that there's a good pack behind the expected top 3. I think that could
Yeah, you got that battle
could make it quite interesting.
Yeah, that battle for third is going to be quite interesting because I think Cracker, Turmo, Lee, Sanford, Turmo, I think I've already said him, and Jack. I mean, they're all obviously Jack's got to make up a few spots at the start, but they're all pretty close together.
Brownie as well. We have seen him. Yeah, probably not quite as consistent as he'd like to be, but he has put in some solid times before. And
Gary Neville
clean racing again. If any of these guys do get a clean race in, they're going to be in with a fair shout.
And then
Gary Neville, third place.
Yeah, and then Gary Neville's another one. He was also in that really midfield group. So there's a few cars that really do have the pace to finish in third place. But if I was to guess, I reckon Jack,
Whitmore, Bolger, Jack. That would be my predicted top 3 if I was to put money on it.
Yeah, if Jack doesn't make a mistake next time out, I don't think he'll make the same mistake twice. He's pretty good odds, but then again, if he doesn't get a great start, he might struggle to pass cars as we saw in the first race. And looking at the time there, 28.6 from Gary Neville. That's his fastest lap, so he's finding a little bit of pace and a little bit of form, so perhaps...
That would have had him, I think, qualifying third for this race too, so good pace in the warm-up session here from Gary.
That would have been very close to P2 even, so... As Steve does at 28.7. So if Gary can maintain that, like he's also, as I said, he's a very good chance for P3. So I think the really big battle for this one, definitely for P3. But
what they really do need to do, just going on the history I've seen with these cars, it looks like once they do get closer to each other, they'll all start focusing on what's in the mirrors too much when you really do need to just be getting your head down and just trying to put the laps in. If someone does get past you, then get in behind them and try and find a weakness rather than force the issue. And I think that probably the most valuable thing you can do in these cars, because you can't take liberties with them, and that's where the issues have arisen before with people spinning and crashing out of races.
Yeah, you got to really, really focus in these cars. I mean, they can be cars that you can throw around, but you still have to concentrate in them to be able to throw them around. And I think when people sort of lose their composure a bit after being overtaken, that's when we see, obviously, people making mistakes. Or even, like, when people are stuck behind slower cars, they do try and make overtakes that might not be there, and they go off the road. So these cars do, or they should teach a bit about patience and a little bit about race cars, which does come in handy if you can obviously...
That's why they were selected.
One of the reasons, yes.
And they're wicked fun.
Yes, so those that haven't driven these cars, these are the Formula Trainer cars. These are the novice ones with groove tyres, not the, I think the advanced ones. I think they're called advanced anyway. They have slick tyres and have a bit more power. These are the novice ones. Obviously, they're a bit slower, which is why these were selected for the Rookie Cup. As all the drivers form up onto the grid for race 2.
Definitely looking forward to this one now that they've all dusted off the cobwebs a bit after the Christmas break.
Yep. There's one official race done and dusted, the first one for 2019, as Wayne Whitmore leads us away. And
I do the second half of the grid, thank you.
I'm just trying to pace it out just a little bit, because obviously it's not a big field, and it is a fairly long formation lap in these cars. So you see Wayne Whitmore starting from pole position, and in the number 2 car, which bears the same livery, is Steve Olger, and P3 is Termo. And Brownie put together a solid lap for P4, and Cracker not too far away either in P5. Gary Neville P6, and Lee Sanford P7, and Miles.
I've been subbed out. Nah, you do it.
Go Miles in P8. I do apologise, Scott.
You're on your own.
Scott Morrill in P9.
Disrespected.
And Jack in P10, and Ben Purse in P11.
Need more in-depth input, Matt. Oh, nah. Well, he knows a lot about in-depth.
All I gotta say is, Rossi, at least he's here.
I can't say any responses. At least I've reached puberty, Rossi. There we go. That's the broadcastable way of saying that.
Yes, Rossi's still got another 15 or so years to go. We do wish him the best.
Still listen to Rossi out there, so yeah, where are you guys? I'm at Movie World with Mum! Pour me a Wobby Pop! He says, but he obviously hasn't heard that yet.
So the drivers coming around the spoon curve and forming up onto the grid for race 2, season 3 of the Automobilista Australia Rookie Cup. Once again, we'll ride on board the car at the back of the field, so we're able to see the lights. It's all formed up now. 1 light, 2, 3, 4, 5 lights, and away we go. And looks like Steve got a shocker of a start. Wayne Whitmore got away a bit better this time, but
Steve, not too bad. It looks like Whitmore's just got a fantastic start.
So into turn 2 they come. And it's Whitmore, Bolger, Brownie having a look at Termo. Doesn't get it done. There's contact. Cracker's been rear-ended, I think. Let's just have a look on replay. There's Glenn Miles behind him.
Couple cars just putting the wheels on the dirt out of turn 3.
Yes, so what's happened there is it looked like Cracker was... He had a car in front of him, brake a little bit earlier than expected. Tried to get out of the way and did avoid him, but Glenn Miles come in way too hot there. And he was also on the grass, and he smacked in the back of Cracker. So that's Cracker to the back of the field, and Glenn Miles even further back now, and he's got suspension damage by the look of it. But at the front, Whitmore leads once again, and Bolger 7 tenths behind, and then a couple of tenths behind Bolger is Termo, and they've got a little bit of a gap to Brownie, so Brownie's dropped back a little bit. And Sanford leads a very angry pack containing Neville, Morrill, and Jack, who's up 2 spots.
A good start from Jack. He just needs to keep his head down for a bit here. Let the field spread out just a little bit so it's a bit easier for him to get through. Just seen a yellow flag as Purse has gone off in spoon.
And that's going to allow Cracker to go by it. Just right on board into turn 1 on Jack. Looks like he lifted a little bit. Yeah, lifted again on the straight, so perhaps some pedal problems there. As you can see in front of him, nice little battle between Sanford and Neville. This looks like Neville's run wide there, and that's allowed Morrill up the position. Now Jack right behind Gary Neville.
And Whitmore gap now up to 1.1 seconds to Bulger for the first time in this race, over a second
A little bit of
already.
contact there between Jack and Neville. It wasn't Jack's fault there. It was right up behind Neville, who sort of looked like he locked a brake. And Jack tried to go up the inside and had the line, but Neville he lost it under acceleration, and he sort of slid into Jack there. In front of them, Morrill is now right behind Sanford, and having a look into the Spoon, the first part of Spoon. They're side by side. Sanford's going to try and hold around the outside, and they're still going. Maybe a little bit of contact there, but Sanford holds on for now. Great driving between those two, and behind them, it looks like Jack's having, or he's going to have a look at Gary Neville.
Morrill coming back again off in the inside into 130R.
Shades of Senna and Mansell at Spain there.
So it's just not Senna and Prost here.
Yes, we do hope that doesn't happen.
Oh, Sanford keeping 5th place at the inside line. It's turn 2, a little bit sideways on the power, but not enough room there for Morrill to get up the inside.
Oh, and Jack's gone around, so what's happened there?
I remember why we're not meant to predict finished as a races now.
Okay, so what has happened to Jack here? I'm going to predict that he's lost it on
Oh,
brake.
Sanford's gone. Sanford's gone. He's lost the rear end, half a spin, just tapping the wall.
Yep, Jack lost it under braking there. And that's him down, and obviously with that spin there we see Sanford recovering. So let's just have a look on replay.
Just losing the rear end there with Sanford.
Yeah,
lost at the exact wrong time and just could not get it back in time.
Yeah, lost it on the entry code. A bit too much entry speed and too much steering lock into the second part of Dagner there, and sent him around. And Brownie's gone around.
Brownie's off.
So Brownie, it's all happening.
Keep up, I dare.
So Brownie just lost it the first part there of the Spoon curve, coming way too hot, slammed on the brakes, and around he went. Up front though, Whitmore, fastest lap of the race, 27.4.
He's unstoppable on these cars. He's found the rhythm with them very early on, and he's just been on a roll since then.
That said though, he's still only 2.4 in front of Stoiv, so Stoiv is keeping him honest to some degree, although he was 1.1 seconds slow on that last lap. And Turmo...
Looks like Neville's bringing the gap down to Morrill. That's about 3/4 of a second between the two of them. It was over a second and a half not long ago, so...
Yeah, 0.7 of a second now.
Morrill will be absolutely loving that. He loves a good scrap on track, and he's quite good at it too. So this could be one to watch if Gary does have the pace.
Obviously, every lap Morrill does is still learning about the track and car, because obviously he did join in the warm-up, and I don't believe he's done any practice.
Bit wide there, and Spoon has allowed Gary to close up a bit more gap between them now, under half a second.
Yeah, it looks like Whitmore might set another fastest lap out front. But yeah, Gary Neville is keeping Morrill honest here. Gap is 0.4 of a second. Or it was.
Watching them, you can see that Morrill is faster, but Neville, just with the consistency, it's helping him out quite a lot. Sanford now coming back into it too, so Morrill maybe just making a few more mistakes. It does actually look like slowing him down a bit more, and also not having the practice, and his pace isn't going to be quite there yet.
It's a personal best in the
race. As he goes off there into turn 2, does Morrill, and allows Neville through and Sanford right on the back. This is now 3 cars bumper to bumper.
Well, that last lap for Gary Neville was a personal best for the race. He set a 1 minute 29.3. And
Can you get away with saying bumper to bumper and open wheelers?
why not? Oh,
It's a rookie's car.
we see Steve Bolger. He's gone around at the hairpin. He has gone around, and that's allowed Turmo up to P2. So let's just right on board with him on replay and see what has he done here. It's just off throttle for too long there, and that's allowed the wheels to spin around too much, and around she goes. That's Steve. He's now got a bit of work to do to catch up to Turmo. He's 6.5 seconds up the road, and Gary Neville now, he's only about 3.5 behind.
And Jack, after his spin earlier on, back up into 8th place now. And unless there's some issues for the cars ahead, it looks like he's probably only going to be able to get up to 7th. Just over 3 seconds behind Cracker with half the race to go, and then about 10 seconds away from Murrell, Sanford and Neville. So not ideal for Jack there, but still very early on in his Automobilista Australia career.
Got Ben Purse having a massive struggle in the first sector, causing a yellow. In fact, he's floating in the air. I don't know what's going on there, but and we have Miles in the pit, so he's trying to repair some damage that's happened there.
Look, there's Purse in the air with diamonds.
God help us.
We really need it.
And
Purse, I'm just having a look at now. He's just getting back on the track, going under the bridge.
oh, we see Lee Sanford have a half spin at the hairpin, so that's dropped him back further behind Scott Morrill, and it's allowed Cracker to close in second or two, but Cracker's still a fair way behind him. But you do say if something happens to the cars in front, if something doesn't happen to the cars in front, Jack's going to have a difficult time passing people. But this is the point in the first race.
Oh,
this is the point in the first race.
Gary Neville going off a little bit out of spoon, and that's allowed Murrell back through into 4th.
As I was just about to say, is that this is the point in the last race where we saw people going off the road and making mistakes. So there is still hope for Jack to move up a few spots at least.
Yeah, he's just going to win the race.
Why not?
It's probably the closest thing to an accurate prediction that we're ever going to get. Murrell now just under a second in front of Gary Neville after that mistake from Gary. Will be interesting keeping an eye on that gap. They've been fairly similar on pace. Murrell with the better speed, but Gary with far superior consistency at this point, as Murrell just lights up the rear coming out of the hairpin. Thought he was going to go around there, but saved it quite well.
You say Murrell has the superior speed, but fastest lap of the race for Gary Neville is a 28.7. Fastest lap of the race for Murrell, a 29.4. So the pace is there for Neville. He's just got to keep the consistency. Well, he's got to pick the consistency up, and he'd find himself up the field.
Yeah, it's just what I've been watching, and it did appear as though Murrell would pull away, and then he'd have an issue. So perhaps Murrell just not actually getting a clean lap in yet, or there's just a couple parts of the track where he is confident to push it to the limit, and that's where the gap opens up. Then and Neville brings it back down. Having said that, though, the gap between the stand is just over half a second.
Got a good run.
Neville, is it close enough?
It's having a look, locks up, tries to avoid running into the back of Murrell, and he does so, thankfully, but he's probably going to be driving on a 50-cent piece now after that lock-up. And he's actually dropped a bit of time. I can hear a car off somewhere.
That is Lee Sanford.
Lee Sanford off. Oh, and he's going to look like he's going to join in front of Brownie there, but thankfully he's pulled it around.
That's well done. That's well done by Sando.
So Sando is taken too much curb at 130.
Oh, Brownie's off. Brownie's off now. He's spun it going through turn 2. Not sure if he's hit the wall there. Gets back on now though.
Lost it under braking there. Did Brownie?
As you said, this is when everyone started losing it. We've got Glenn Miles, sorry, going out of the final corner.
And Scott Morrill was built a 2-second gap over Gary Neville. Had that gap pretty close, so Gary Neville must have made a mistake somewhere in the middle sector. He stopped a fair chunk of time.
Yeah, he after the lock up and attempt to pass into turn 2, he was a fair bit behind then. So perhaps the flat spot he would have got from that lock up causing more issues than you'd expect.
Possibly so.
Turmo now just lapping Glenn Miles, gets out of the way quite well to Miles. Bit of a lonely race here for Bolger. He's got over 5 seconds behind and over 6 seconds ahead of him.
Well, he's only sort of gained about 3/10 or 4/10 as he hangs it out there, the second part of Degner to Turmo. So ever since he had that off, he's been consistent, but unfortunately for him, it's not going to be enough, barring a Turmo mistake, to obviously get P2 back. Obviously both Turmo and Bolger, since obviously Bolger went off, they've both had very quiet races with no one really to race because Whitmore is long gone, and Gary Neville...
It's Gary Neville now back in front of Morrill.
Yeah, what has happened? No, Morrill at Degner. So Morrill at Degner 1, he's ran wide and spun it around, and Morrill was very close to getting collected by Gary Neville.
Sorry, Jack's had another issue too. He's dropped right off from Cracker. There was, I think, 4 or 5 seconds between them. That's now over 10 seconds.
Yeah, he has dropped. Oh, as he runs wide at Spoon there, so he's struggling a little bit at the moment. So he's having some kind of trouble there, is Jack. So Gary Neville wide at turn 2 there, and it's cost him a bit of time to Scott Morrill, and they've got Glenn Miles between the two.
It looked like Gary just got a bit caught out by the traffic there, a little bit wide there. Morrill's still behind Miles, having to put a couple wheels off as well, so it's probably going to come out fairly even between him
so we
and
see
Neville.
Cracker almost, well, he just clips the wall behind him. He was closing on those guys who both made mistakes in the last lap, but the second part of Degner there, Cracker pushing a little bit too hard, lost the back end on the entry, and sort of drifted his way through the corner and then just clipped the barrier. But he retained 6, but Jack was, well, he was 14 seconds behind, but Jack's now only probably about 2.5, 3 seconds behind him now, so...
Going from my tyre data I've got on my screen, the tyres aren't in that bad a shape, so I'm not really sure what the issue is once the race does get to this point, whether or not the tyres, after they lose about 20% of the rubber, just decide that they're not going to work anymore or what, but just from my data, they don't look to be struggling, yet the drivers clearly are.
I think it's more just these cars they're not the easiest cars to be consistent in.
Let's give them a 2-hour finale.
That would be quite interesting, but I don't think we'd see anybody finish.
It's a short night.
It wouldn't be short, because I'm pretty sure there'd be someone out there that would try and last the 2 hours and would be stuck here commentating a 1-car race.
Well, I mean, it's better than commentating a no-car race. Don't know why we'd do that. It sounds like something we'd do.
Well, it was close to happening in a couple of events last year.
Jack has retired from the race. I don't know what's happened. I've just seen it on my timing there.
So I'm just going back on the replay.
As Sando loses it. Again, he's kept it out of the wall, but he's gone around once again as Sando. Dwayne will be sending him all kinds of horrible messages.
So Jack just lifted and then just pulled over to the side and parked it. So perhaps he's got something on. And, well, something's happened and he's had to unfortunately retire.
Cracker with an awful connection. Just sliding around all over the place.
So you see, all Brownie drifting it through turn 2 there. And Whitmore coming up to lap Ben Purse.
We are on the final lap too.
Purse letting him go. Good to see.
Only a few more corners left for Whitmore as he gets through Purse there. Good job by Purse, as you said.
He's only got the long right-hand sweeper, which is flat out in pretty much every car to go. But he's letting Purse go past again. I don't know why, but he's doing that, and he's got Spoon to go, and then behind him is Steve. Steve, he's up into P2. So what has happened to Turmo? What has happened? So Turmo's had it off. Turmo's gone off at turn 2 all on his own on the last lap, and that's led Steve back up into P2. So
As Whitmore again goes past Purse, just about to cross the line now, and that is another victory for Wayne Whitmore.
yep,
Wayne Whitmore.
Wayne Whitmore, 2 for 2 tonight, and he gets.
Oh, they've just wiped each other out there. That's just pure hatred. That's what we want to see.
Yeah, we do need some more rivalries, and Steve finishes P2 after Turmo's mistake on the final lap cost him it would have been a comfortable second place.
Neville and Murrell close between them, but Murrell not going to be able to get it done as Neville takes 4th place, Murrell in 5th.
And then Cracker 10 seconds or so, 15, 16 seconds behind. And he'll finish in P6.
It's Glenn Miles, a lap or so down behind Cracker, coming across the line behind him. Take 11th place, Sanford going through Spoon now. In 7th place, he's going to wind up finishing where he started.
He'll be, yes, I believe both Miles and Purse have finished. And that means obviously Sanford will be the last of the runners that aren't a lap down to finish.
Now there's just a destruction derby and some donuts going on, which is obviously encouraged.
Highly encouraged.
And that would, with Jack Steenf, that would put Miles and Purse up a position each, wouldn't it?
It should, yes. It should, but I don't know how Live Races handles this, so it's something we will we'll figure out. But once again, the
Live
result:
Races.
Wayne Whitmore takes 2 from 2. Steve recovers to finish P2 in race 2. Turmo should have been in P2, but the mistake on the last lap cost him second place in the end. Gary Neville fought a good race with Scott Morrell throughout, and he come out in front of him to finish 4th. Scott Morrell 5th. Crack, a bit of a lonely race for him. And he finishes in P6. Lee Sanford, he could have finished higher, but once again, a little bit inconsistent, and he finished where he started in P7. Brownie, P8. Then Purse.
A little bit inconsistent. He finished where he started.
Yes, but his fastest lap was a 29.6. Or no, his fastest lap was a 28.6.
Yeah, but you know how positive I am.
You're not very positive.
You're a wanker.
True. True.
I just accidentally supported your theory.
I'm not going to deny that. But, yeah, we'll just take a short break as I've got to go through and set the grid. And I'm sure Scruff will want a short break. But we shall be back shortly. Alright, alright, alright. Welcome back. It is time for the reverse grid race. Well, the reverse championship order grid anyway. And the final race of the night, race 3. And got a jumbled up grid. We've got Wayne Whitmore starting at the back. So Scruff, what do you think we will see in this final race of the night?
No, not going near it.
Not going near it. Well, that is a piss poor effort. And
No, whenever we try to predict something, fucking a meteorite lands on the fucking track and
that's why we've got to predict it, so that way something exciting happens. So
alright, you see the grid order?
yeah, what about it?
Exact opposite of that.
Okay, and
That's gonna be the race.
Ben Purse late onto the grid, but he's made it in time. And we're just about to get the formation lap underway. So, because I did the entire grid last time, I think you can make, or I can make it up too. And this time, Scruff, you can go through the grid.
I was going to talk over you if you started it. Pole position is Cracker after an absolutely amazing qualifying lap. Second place is Brownie after an absolutely amazing qualifying lap. In third, we have Ben Purse, who put in an absolutely amazing qualifying lap. Fourth place is Jack with an absolutely amazing qualifying lap. Fifth and still on the grid is Sando after an amazing qualifying lap. Sixth is Scott Murrell. He really did have an amazing qualifying lap. Seventh, Gary Neville put in an amazing lap in qualifying. Eighth place is Glenn Miles. He did an amazing qualifying lap. Ninth is Termo after an amazing qualifying lap. 10th, Steve Bolger after, an absolutely amazing qualifying lap. He put the rest of the field to shame, really. And in 11th place with a terrible, horrible, worst qualifying lap I've ever seen is Wayne Whitmore.
So that is the grid for the final race of the night. And Lee Sanford,
Sando's in the pits.
He's left the game. He's left the game completely. So
well, that's
disappointing. So Lee Sanford, that is a $10,000 fine. So just
and as your wife says, that was disappointing and brief.
Indeed. So Sando, a bit out of pocket for that one, mate. So that'll be that'll be just PM me after the race, and we'll just obviously chuck it in my bank account. That'll be fantastic. Scruff, I'll give you about 50 cents. So they're just about to.
Wanker.
Oh, you deserve it. So just coming out of the final corner.
My wheel fucked up because I was half shut down. Shit on my computer. Oh.
Well, there you go. Alright.
Maybe you should read the info tab. Sando.
Alright, so 1 light, 2, 3, 4, 5 lights. And we are racing. And looks like Termo got a decent start.
A good start for the top 5, and then behind them it was a little bit less good.
Murrell had a great start, but was blocked off by the cars in front of him, so he's going to have to stay in 4th position as we see Neville and Purse side by side into turn 2. So just to zoom out, we've had a couple incidents here already.
Oh, what's his face? Brownie just getting into the back of Cracker there into turn 2, I think. Now everyone's concentrated behind them as Cracker gets a bit of breathing room.
Yeah, Cracker's got a bit of a gap now, and he's got Brownie in 2nd place, but there's a bit of a gap now, and he's got Jack all over the back of him.
Jack all up in it. Jack having a look on Brownie. Oh, that's close between them. Jack having to back out of it a bit there. He's now looking around the outside through Spoon.
And that's compromised him, and Murrell having a look up the inside, but around the outside, Jack. He's got all the power down. Must have got on the power a bit earlier than Brownie, and he's got the run and the position, and now Brownie's going to struggle to hold on, I'd imagine, to P3. No, he's got the slipstream, and now he's having a look to get that 2nd place back from Jack, but to no avail this time. And in fact, he's going to get all kinds of sideways, and it's going to give Morrill an opportunity into turn 2, I'd imagine. And behind them,
sorry, you
yeah,
carry
behind
on.
them, Whitmore's got to run on Bolger. And Bolger is going to have the slipstream of the car in front, so it's going to make it a bit awkward for these guys because Whitmore, Turmo, and Bolger are all so close together. That's one wrong move and it's down a couple spots. As Cracker runs wide in turn 2 and Jack is around, and so has Purse, and there's carnage everywhere.
Jeepers creepers, I don't believe my peepers. Hello, David King.
That's unfortunately, well, Jack is, he must have clutch turned.
Yep, he's got going now.
Yeah, he must have clutch turned off, and unfortunately that's him to the back of the field. Cracker leads.
After such a promising 3/4 of race 1, this has not gone well for Jack, but we did have a good look at the kind of performances he can put in, and I would expect him to see him up the front in the future. Just not tonight, unfortunately.
Yeah, certainly one to look out for in the future, as you say. But because of all those incidents, Cracker himself obviously ran wide, and Brownie sort of half lost it as well. Both those guys, though, they've got now a 4-second gap. Well, Cracker's 2.2 in front of Brownie, and Brownie's 4 seconds in front of Murrell, who's got Whitmore half a second behind him, and Bolger now is behind Whitmore, and Turmo down into P6. So we see Whitmore having a look up the inside. He's going to try up the inside into 130R. Will Scott Murrell fight him? No, sort of lifts a little bit, I think.
I think Murrell's looking for the drive.
As he pushes very hard.
Side by side into 2, they've got Bolger there as well.
And the Bolger getting slipstream of both of them there.
This is some balls to the wall shit.
And Cracker's made a mistake, and Brownie's closed in.
Murrell doing everything he can to stay on the back of Whitmore, but
he's got a good run out of
Whitmore
deck.
Made a bit of a mistake there.
He's got a good run. But yeah, Murrell thinks better of going for a move at the hairpin.
Whitmore a little bit wide through the hairpin though. That could help Murrell out a bit. He stayed right on the back of him. Got a yellow flag ahead.
That's behind, and that's Steve. Steve's gone around. Let's just have a look on the replay. Yeah, Steve's come in pretty hot, but he's kept it through the majority of the corner. Then on the exit, just gassed it too much with too much throttle input, and around he goes. And that's him down.
This is very close between Murrell and.
Oh, and got Brownie.
Brownie's off.
Brownie putting up a bit of a smoke screen for him there. Let's just have a look and see what he's done. And it's just awkward line for the Degners, and then just lost it in the mid corner in the second part of it. It's was Murrell on the grass at the entry to 130R, and both he and Whitmore drifting it through there. Not advised, but they both hold on for now. But in front of him, Cracker's got 6.2 seconds over Whitmore, but obviously Whitmore has got a bit of pace.
Whitmore can now get his head down. He's got a bit of a gap behind him, so if he can just sort of put in the same kind of laps he was in the first 2 races, he's now going to be able to pull away from Murrell with a bit over a second between them now.
Oh,
Murrell's lost it.
So unfortunately the replay got a little bit too far back there, but we're right on board. The left view over the left shoulder at Scott Murrell. Yeah, lost it a little bit under braking, then got on the curb, unsettled it, overcorrected, and he's going to struggle to get out of there. But he's got out of there, and it's got Brownie for company, and in P7. That moves.
Whitmore, with the performances we've seen in the first 2 races as well, he really doesn't need to do anything drastic here. He just needs to go on an 8-lap run, and he should catch Cracker up. He's already closed the gap down to under 5 seconds.
Well, he was 7 tenths faster in the first sector, and he was 6 tenths faster in the middle sector.
4.0 now between them.
Yeah, so it's at 1.9 seconds fast. Actually, no. Yes, 1.9 seconds faster on that last lap was Whitmore, so it won't take him long. But he can't afford to make a mistake.
Yeah, he just needs to do what he's done in the first 2 races, then catch up and then just wait for his opportunity. He'll have, with the pace difference, he'll have quite a few laps to wait for the ideal opportunity, so no rush on him here at all.
We have seen Cracker, he's been fairly consistent in these cars. He did make, I think, a mistake in race 2, but throughout race 1 he didn't make too many mistakes compared to those around him. He hasn't been the fastest, but he's made probably the least amount of mistakes from anybody aside from Whitmore. So
yeah, Cracker, once he gets his head around how to drive all the different cars we do run, he is one of the more consistent drivers. Not one of the fastest, but it's really only relevant in qualifying. It's consistency that gets you race results, and he's shown that in the touring cars for quite a while now that he does have that consistency and has been a fair way up the standings.
and 2 more purple sectors in the first and second sectors there for Whitmore. So this will be another fastest lap. This will be a low 27. There it is, a 27.1. So it's 1.6 seconds faster, 1.6, 1.7 seconds faster than Cracker. Cracker doing his fastest lap at 28.8. And that's only 4/10 off his personal fastest lap. So he's having a crack. And unfortunately, he's not quite quick enough with obviously Whitmore relentless speed.
Oh, looks like Miles has had a bit of an incident in the hairpin.
Oh, by the replay, incident in the Degners, and he's just run wide. I don't know.
Oh, Cracker's around. Cracker is around. He's into the wall. That is Whitmore into the lead.
And we did see Cracker do that in race 2, unfortunately. He's going to have to 3-point turn it to get it out, so that's going to drop him well down the field. And, well, once again, Whitmore is going to probably cruise now to the end. And Cracker, after setting his fastest lap of the race, makes a mistake the next one. And now he's down in 6th place. And Jack moves up to P5. And Bolger P4. Gary Neville now into a podium place, and Turmo on his own in P2.
What was the grid order?
The grid order, let's see if I can find the batch file. Alright, the grid order was obviously Cracker started on pole. We had Brownie P2, Ben Purse in P3, Jack P4, Lee Sanford started in P5, Morrill in P6, Gary Neville P7, Glenn Miles P8.
Purse is off, sorry, Lewis. Purse is gone off. On the other side of the hill I'm looking at. That's all I had was hill and a barrier.
130R is off at 130R.
Brownies looks to have had an incident as well. That's not pretty at all through the hairpin. Once again, we get over 50% distance and shit hits the fan.
Yeah, these guys can put it together for 3 or 4 laps, and you get to 5 and 6 and beyond, and it's an absolute mess.
Bit more not the ideal exit from the hairpin either. The struggles for everyone, but Whitmore just seems to get out on top of the issues a little bit better than everyone else with a 7.1 second lead over Turmo.
Well, that's it. I think the wider line through the hairpin isn't necessarily the worst one, because we have seen it give guys, as he goes wide through Spoon, it does seem to give guys a really good run out of it. So it might not be the worst line going a little bit wider through the hairpin.
Yeah, now GT3 testing we've been doing lately at Spa. The first corner, you think sort of a later entry so you can tighten up, get the power down for the exit would be the fastest way, but there was a few times I'd outbrake myself by just a couple of meters and it was a little bit wider the apex, and I was 3/10 up coming out of it. So really does just depend on how you are able to get the power down once you do get into a corner. Really, and if you do run wide, it's sort of having that adaptability to try and make it work as best as possible.
And these cars, like a lot of the lower powered cars, they're a lot about momentum as well. They do have a bit of mechanical grip that you can rely on, but yeah, they're a lot about momentum and keeping the speed up when you can. and I think that's something that Whitmore is able to do, and he's able to do it without taking too many risks. And he's able to remain at a very good, consistent speed, while others, they're still struggling to sort of find the limit where they're able to maintain speed through the corners and obviously maintain consistency while doing so.
Whitmore just coming up to lap. Glenn Miles in ninth place after Perth had his issue through 130R. Brownie not too far ahead of Miles either, with a bit of a lock up there into 130R. As he's survived, even though I thought he's met his maker.
Oh, big lock up there for Brownie, and so they Glenn Miles to close back up, but
He must have a bit of damage from his spin earlier on, which I don't believe I've just made up.
well, looking at his front right tyre, it has got a massive front spot in that, and that's you don't normally see that. As he runs wide. No, he's gone. He is gone. Bang! That is a big incident. So that car will be damaged, and even then, he'll struggle to get out of the gravel trap, and his engine's off. So he's stalled it, and that will probably be him out of the race. Although Ben Purse has been nudged by Jack, who, well, he had nowhere to go. Ben Purse was being lapped, but he sort of braked right in front of Jack. Jack nowhere to go, and he's given him a slight nudge and spun him around there, unfortunately. And Jack, he's in pursuit of Gary Neville. He's 3.8 seconds behind him for P3. And behind him, he's also got Cracker.
Bulger's out of the race.
So what has Bulger done? On the replay, he's...
God help him.
God help him. So he's had an incident at 130R. So he had Jack at 1.5 seconds behind him. He's caught too much curb 130R, gone around, and bang, into the wall. And then he's spun it up, and he's driven himself into the gravel. I don't know. No, he's not trying to get out. He's just thought, well, that's enough. He's had a horror night. It's Steve, unfortunately. Second race went alright for him. Finished P2, but yeah, been pretty inconsistent tonight.
Yeah, if he has grandchildren, he'll be, and they ask him about tonight, he'll be telling them to go away and then chasing them with a bat.
With nails in it, obviously.
You ever been chased by someone with a board with nails? It's quite an experience.
I don't recommend, but you got to do what you got to do.
60s were a hell of a time.
Indeed they were. So the closest battle on track at the moment is between Jack and Gary Neville, as we've got a car off. It sees Glenn Miles at the hairpin, and looks like he might struggle to get out of the gravel trap there. So Jack 1.6 seconds behind Neville with 3 laps to go. Almost 2. And he's got 4 seconds behind him to Cracker.
Gary, I've done that every single time. Like Glenn's still trying to get out of the gravel. He's now been passed by Ben Purse, so to speak. I don't know what I mean. Doesn't matter. He's got movement, but he doesn't have much.
On that last lap, Jack did a 28.2. His fastest is actually a 27.8. So he's got pace in that thing, as we've seen obviously in the first race. He just hasn't been able to put it together in the second race or in the first half of this one. So he'll be ruining mistakes he's made tonight. But,
he's got it out of the gravel. That is a magnificent performance from Glenn Miles. That is highlight of the race stuff.
Very persistent to get out of there. It's taken him a while, about a minute or so.
I can't feel my foot.
Well, that's what diabetes does. There's the gap between Jack and Gary Neville now down to 1.1 seconds. It looks a little bit closer than that now. So, that's Gary Neville around, and once again in a podium position, he makes a mistake, and that allows Jack up into P3, and Cracker up into P4, and Gary Neville will be kicking himself.
God help him.
God help him.
What else of notes going on? Is anyone near each other? No.
Unfortunately, that was the last real battle on track. Was
Well, thanks for watching, everybody.
yes, thanks for watching, and we'll catch you Thursday night.
Where I will absolutely not be commentating.
Yes, we'll see you out on the racetrack at Monza.
Monza or Monza?
Mozart.
That was my head exploding.
Boom. Alright, so Wayne Whitmore at the hairpin. He's got a 12-second lead over Turmo in P2.
Oh, it's the last lap too.
It is the last lap, that's why I bring it up.
No, fair enough then. Carry on.
Carry on.
As you were.
Oh look, it's Lisa in the sky.
No diamonds, look.
God help
God
us.
help us.
As Whitmore exits Spoon for the final time tonight, and he will claim 3 from 3, and in the end, all of them pretty easy in the end. So, flawless night for Whitmore. 2 poles, 3 wins, and 3 well-deserved wins. And Turmo will finish in P2. He had a very good second race there, and very good pace in the end, but in the end, no one to race. Jack will come home and finish on the podium. His first night out. He finishes in P3, makes up for his final race there, or his first race, I should say. And Cracker will finish P4. Gary Neville, once again, he'll be kicking himself like he's done quite a few times now. He's been in podium positions in pretty much every race, I think, this season, and well, he seems to anyway, but keeps making mistakes. So he finished P5. Scott Murrell makes a mistake at Spoon, but he's got Ben Purse 1 minute 27 behind him, so he's just mucking around, drifting. Probably trying to get on the broadcast, so I better skip to someone else. So he'll finish in
That's
P6.
Good. Yeah, I don't even know who is in P6.
Ben Purse finishes P7. Miles P8, and then Bolger and Brownie both failing to finish. Alright, well, we're not going to be doing interviews this evening because neither of us took notes, so we do apologise for the drivers that do make their way into TV time later.
And we don't have Rossi.
And we don't have Rossi, so well done, Rossi, you've just ruined it for everybody.
Yeah, one idiot.
Hashtag blame Rossi. Or hashtag Rossi's fault. But
Down with Rossi.
yes. But obviously, Whitmore would have to be driver of the night. It's good to see Jack come along, and he had a fairly good night, aside from a couple mistakes. But aside from that,
definitely did impress. Did Jack on his debuts?
Certainly. But obviously, aside from those two guys, who do you think who would you have as your driver of the evening?
Main Mitmore.
Indeed.
you can't go past Whitmore tonight, can you? He was absolutely unstoppable. There's some good performances in there, but he just no one had anything for him tonight, and yeah, but there's no one else to pick really. Jack with a very impressive first night out with us, but Whitmore definitely stole the show there tonight.
Well, his fastest lap was his fastest lap of the night was 8/10 faster than what anyone else could manage. So that sort of summed it all up. And well, as I said, no, we're not going to have driver interviews. So those that have made their way into the booth, we do apologise. As we said before, blame hashtag Rossi's fault. But we'll just bring up a couple of events that are upcoming. On Thursday night, we have the final round of the Porsche Cup from the Mozart circuit in Italy. And then obviously next Monday night, we have the touring cars from Adelaide. So they're the next two events coming up. I believe ARW TV will be doing the final of the Porsche round, and obviously you'll have me next Monday night. But aside from that, obviously we do have registrations open at Automobilista Australia for the 2019 World Endurance Championship. There are LMP2 cars and GT3 cars available for people to select, and we also have a special event, the Bathurst 3 Hour, which is on February 10, with the WEC Series starting on February 17. And there will be a Formula One series starting, I believe, on February 24, off the top of my head. So but we've just got to figure out a couple things before we put up registration stuff for that. So do look out for that. Those that have joined us tonight, we do hope you enjoyed the broadcast, and we do hope to see you again.